Hi, everybody. I'm international publicist Michelle Tennant Nicholson, and I'm volunteering my time to get out the vote, specifically here with a pet project called howtobeaprecinctleader.org. And I'm the vice chair in the East Flat Rock Precinct in Henderson County with the Democratic Party. And I'm with Stacey Caskey, and I am interviewing her on what we can actually say as precinct leaders in our precincts about her and her candidacy. Hi, Stacey.
Hi.
Tell me a little bit about who you are, why you're running, and how can we actually powerfully speak about you when we're speaking to voters, Stacey?
Sure. First off, I always want to say being a political candidate was not on my bucket list. It was something that became necessary after attending a few school board meetings. When I graduated from college, I was a stockbroker. I went back to school and got my stockbroker's license, and I was working at a high-end brokerage firm in New York City, across from Trump Tower. And I came home from work every day feeling pretty dissatisfied. And my dad gave me some really good advice. He said, "You're not being the best version of yourself." And when I asked him what he meant by that, he said, "You can't be the best version of yourself unless you're helping other people be the best version of themselves." And then I kind of understood what he was talking about. So I left my job and I began teaching. And over the years, I've accumulated 3 master's degrees in education. One is in elementary education, one is in mathematics, and one is in college counseling. I'm national board certified, which for those of you who are teachers, it is a pretty arduous process. I've taught many different grades in 2 different school systems. I've been Teacher of the Year in 2 schools.
Wow, you were Teacher of the Year when?
In New York City in 1997 and in Asheville, North Carolina in 2007.
Wow, congratulations. That's a big deal. One thing that I should just say is I used to teach 5th grade, and I used to write.
Oh, so you get it.
Yeah, I used to write early childhood education curriculum and produce early childhood videos, and I work with the National Association for the Education of Young Children and the National Head Start Association, and actually worked with Hillary Clinton directly with the Head Start Association. So I fully get how that's super impressive, Stacey, super impressive.
Thank you. And you know, one of the things that you just mentioned was Head Start. And if any of you have gone to my social media, you will know I am a huge proponent of pre-kindergarten for all county students. Pre-kindergarten is not daycare, and I think there is a misconception even by our current school board members who were asked the same question. They seem to think it's childcare. Pre-kindergarten is a 1-year early literacy program for 4-year-olds. And the reason why that's so important is 4 to 6 years old, those are your greatest language acquisition skills. You have such an ability to absorb at that age, and we're missing that opportunity. And the reason why that is so important is by the time a student reaches 3rd grade, if they've had pre-kindergarten, they're outperforming other students in every single subject. And for me not to give the kids of Henderson County that leg up seems a waste of time, to be honest with you. It seems like we're taking just such a precious time in their lives where they could learn so much, and we're wasting it. Less than 10% of the kids in Henderson County get pre-kindergarten.
See, this is the reason why I wanted to get involved, because in the Democratic Party, because I wasn't, as a voter, I was always voting, but I wasn't, even though this is so passionate, because from the years of 1992 to 1999, I actually helped the Head Start, the National Head Start Association actually create early childhood programs for the brain development science that we had actually gotten for the first time back then, right? And so it was the precursor to these testing that a lot of the politicians are wanting to do, which doesn't address a child-directed curriculum need. And if people don't understand what's happening in the brain, if you're not, if your capacity in your brain is not stimulated optimally in the first 7 years of life, the synapses, they're done. Like that, you got 7 years, you know, so most of us are running around with a 7-year-old brain. So you either had a caretaker in your life, like a mother or a father or a teacher, to actually have you optimally develop or not. So that is
Right.
actually horrible statistics that I'm just now hearing of for the first time, Stacey. And that's one thing that I can really sink my teeth into when I'm speaking to families here in Henderson County. 10%, not
Yes,
enough.
10%. And remember too, so even amongst that 10%, these are people who are going out and seeking pre-kindergarten, either at church programs, and some of these programs do a great job. I think there needs to just be a little bit more curriculum guidance with those programs, but I think they do a good job. But not many families can afford to spend $700 to $1,000 a month on pre-kindergarten. So what is happening is that 90% of our kids are not getting that advantage, and that's something that's very important to me. That's
So,
one reason.
and then what are you, so what difference can you make with the school board here in Henderson County that you're currently seeing a hole or what's missing?
That's a good question, because I think that was the impetus for me running, was attending a bunch of school board meetings and going through the agendas for the last 11 years, because I kept looking to see where's the beef, where's the substance of these meetings. They're never talking about curriculum. They're never talking about the 21st century job market. They're never talking about pre-kindergarten. They're never talking about grants. And grants are something I'm really passionate about, because so many people have said to me, oh, pre-kindergarten, that sounds expensive, right? We know that, all these programs sound good and people get nervous. Oh, another Democrat wants to spend all of our money and raise our taxes. Taxes do not have to be raised to have pre-kindergarten in our schools. First of all, we could lobby for legislation at the state level, and I've been talking to Senator Edwards. Senator Jeff Jackson is a huge proponent of early literacy programs. But in addition to getting money from the state for this, rather than just raising our taxes, there are grants out there, and I think we're missing the boat. We have a very small percentage of teachers who work on grants, and it's just because the school board is not getting them involved in this. I've written grants for over $3 million of money coming into my schools. So there's money that's able to be obtained from corporations. It's just we have to know how to ask for it. We have to know how to seek this. We have to have competent people on the school board guiding the process of getting together a grant writing committee and doing this. There's money out there. We just have to know how to grab it.
It's really, I love hearing you say that, because as an international publicist, when people have an educational platform, the first thing that I've experienced in the first 10 years of my career is it's all about grants in education. It's all about the request. And so working at the state level, both in Kentucky and Ohio and in DC, I can see that that is a huge missing. That's really wonderful. So I see that we can make the point about literacy in Henderson County, about infusing our school system with grants. What are some other things that you would really like for us to say and make a point to? Because, one of when we're talking to other candidates and when we're polling voters here in Henderson County, what's most important to them is healthcare, and then right behind that, education and the security of their families. So what other conversations are you engaging in that we can replicate on your behalf?
Well, a couple of other things. First of all, school safety has to be discussed, because it's on everybody's mind since Parkland. It should have been on everybody's mind since Sandy Hook and Columbine. But for whatever reason, Parkland seemed to combine the divisiveness of our country politically and move this into a school safety issue, when in reality, school safety should be important to everybody. I mean, this is the safety of our kids. What's more important than that? One of the things that has been driving me absolutely bonkers is that right after Columbine, the U.S. Department of Education, in conjunction with the United States Secret Service, came up with a study called the Safe Schools Initiative. And in this Safe Schools Initiative, it goes through best practices for keeping kids safe in the event of some type of targeted violence. Nobody adheres to it. So we poured in money and we had this study done, yet they're ignoring the main thing that they're saying, which is that lockdown drills are the most dangerous thing that we could be doing with our kids. In a lockdown drill, and you've taught, so you're probably very familiar with these. In a lockdown drill, the teacher locks the door, closes the lights, and the kids hide in a corner of a room, all bunched together. I call that fish in a barrel, because every single one of these mass shooters has attended school, so they know the protocol. They know that all they have to do is bash through that classroom window door, and they have an entire group of kids in one spot. Pretty easy targets. 92% of the kids who have been killed have been sitting and waiting in classrooms. So we have to say, is this really the best practice? What the Secret Service says is get those kids out of the building, kind of like a highly organized, high-speed fire drill. We have to come up with an escape route for these kids to get them out as quickly as possible. First-story buildings are pretty easy. It's opening the window and getting the kids out of the building and have them run to a safe spot. Keeping them hiding in corners and in closets is not a safe procedure. So that's the very first thing that has to change. And as a parent of a Henderson County school student, and I get those Nicholson alerts probably 5 times a week about red code lockdown drills, my heart thumps every time, and my daughter knows she has to be looking for the nearest window for her to get out of if she hears any commotion. We have talked about this.
Yeah,
So
it just happened last week here in Henderson County. I get those too from the police, the Nixle alerts.
There's nothing scarier.
Nothing scary, especially if you know somebody in the school at that time that's going through that. And it was just recently well, I guess I shouldn't mention the school, right?
Right.
Like,
I'm aware of it. I get all of those, to be honest with you.
We all got it last week, and then all of a sudden I'm texting, are they out of the school? Are they into the school? Where are they right now? Are you at the at the front? Get them out. Get them out.
We're back to school, and what does that mean? That means that a parent's heart is thumping all day until your child gets back in the car with you and you could breathe easy again. And that's, welcome to 2018. But as a school board, we could be doing things that make things safer for our kids. I love the fact that they've added social workers. That's incredible. That's being proactive instead of reactive. I think school resource officers are a good thing, but only if they're properly trained. I think we could be utilizing them in a better fashion. I go into my daughter's school quite often, and the SRO is sitting behind the big desk chatting with the school secretaries. I think that they need to be circulating throughout the school, not to give it a prison-like atmosphere, but more of relationship building with the school community, so the kids know that they could come to them in an emergency, or when they've heard something, they have someone they could talk to. School shootings are not the only danger in our schools. We have to understand that drug use, sexual harassment, bullying, these are other school safety issues. So when we talk about school safety, I don't want us just to picture the very rare, hopefully, chance that a school shooter comes in. There's dangerous episodes going on in our schools every day. I mean, behind the high schools, it's like Walgreens sometimes with the drug sales. So we need to have school resource officers making their presence, so that at any given time, a school resource officer might be walking the perimeter of the school, and that could keep our kids safe as well. So I think we need to open up that umbrella of school safety to go beyond just the awful mass shootings and look at other ways that our kids are in danger.
Let's talk. So we've talked about early literacy grants and safety, and I have to say that I'm super impressed with your credentials and the fact that you have research that backs up the way that you think about these topics, Stacey. That's really, for me, as someone who loves science, I just really appreciate that. So I am curious. I sit on a board with our local organic food co-op, and I'm wondering what you think about the school food situation. I'm always horrified at what's being served in schools. So what about how we nourish children, both in the lunchrooms and then also at recess time, and keeping them fit? Do you have any insights or opinions on that?
And this goes back to, obviously, Michelle Obama had a lot of input in this, but we didn't see a major change in the schools, because there is always that feeling that feeding healthy is more expensive, which we know that that's not true. It certainly takes a little bit more time and preparation, but we're in an area, Henderson County is an agricultural area. How are we not taking advantage of the fact that we have all these wonderful local ingredients? I mean, as a teacher and at the school I worked in Western North Carolina, we ate with our students. each day I saw macaroni and cheese and chicken nuggets and you know all those unhealthy food things. And yes, I understand that they are easy and quick to fix. That's a concern, needless to say, and I think that's a pretty easy fix, to be honest with you. I just don't think it's ever addressed. And if you were about to ask the question, I'm going to jump in. It has never been on the school board's agenda. Child
Wow.
nutrition has.
Okay. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, so that would, as inside your commitments to use grants, to really leverage opportunities for our students here in Henderson County, I would be very interested in that.
With our local farmers.
I mean, we are a complete, I speak to farmers who makes up my precinct. So, they're going to be interested in that conversation.
Right, because couldn't tell that's such a good symbiotic relationship, but let's keep buying those huge bags of chicken nuggets, right?
Right.
But else I have to mention when it comes to child nutrition, a major concern, and I have spoken with the nutrition officials for Henderson County, is that we have children who are being bullied and hassled when they don't have school lunch money. And that's something that is near and dear to my heart, because if the food is being prepared each day and we're not feeding kids just because they have a large balance of outstanding debt, and then that food is being thrown out, and I have seen food being thrown out, I think there's something wrong there. I mean, this is something that kind of gets to me, because what they do at the schools is, if the child has a large balance in their school lunch debt, they will offer them a different lunch. I have seen them take a tray out of a child's hand with the school lunch and hand them basically a peanut butter sandwich on a hard hamburger bun with an apple. And it's not just even the matter of, is this the best lunch you could be giving this kid? Think about the stigma attached to it. Everybody at that lunch table knows why you have that lunch. So if you're taking food out of the hands of a child which you cannot hand to somebody else, where's the humanity, in that? One of the things that I've posted on my page quite often is, if you're going to ask me how you can help, call up Child Nutrition Services and offer to pay off some kids' lunch balance, because I do that a few times a year. It's a pretty easy thing to do. As a teacher, I will be honest with you, I paid for more school lunches in my day than I even want to think about, probably 2 years of my kids' college fund. But for a child to be denied lunch, deal with the parent if there's an issue. If you feel that the parent could be contributing to the lunch fund, let's not ostracize the kids. I mean, bullying is so prevalent in our schools to begin with. So having a child sit at a lunchroom table with a peanut butter sandwich on a bun, and everybody knows it's because they don't have lunch money, I'm not okay with that. So that's
well, especially in a community where in Henderson County we have so many retired individuals who do have extra resources to be able to pay off something like that, and I'll take that on, Stacey, as actually
an easy fix.
Yeah, just starting that conversation, I think that's a really worthwhile conversation to have, especially where it intersects between, me as an educator, me as a proponent of organic food. And I love that you said that, because I'm going to take that on. In closing of our video, is there anything else that we should really be talking about with voters on your behalf? Because these are really, really juicy topics.
Well, obviously the school board race is supposed to be nonpartisan. There's nothing nonpartisan anymore. Going to the grocery store is partisan. I was at the parade, the Apple Festival parade the other day, and I was handing out pencils to children, and I heard a parent say, "Don't take her pencil. We're not voting for her. She's not a Republican." When a teacher walks into a classroom, there's no political party. There's no gender. There's no race. These are our children when we walk in there. And I'm sure that I've had a bunch of favorite teachers who were Republicans. I'm sure a lot of Republicans who have had a lot of favorite teachers who are Democrats. I think we have to stop the partisanship when it comes to our schools, because the only ones who are going to lose are our kids. So that's something that's really important to me, that we have to think about our children and take that off of the table from all the other things that are going on in our world right now. The other one message that I really would love our precinct leaders to get out is that you could vote for 3 people for school board. They give you up to 3 people, but you don't have to vote for 3. So I have been asking all of my voters to single vote my name. By doing that, it's basically the same as giving me 3 votes. So if you only choose one person, you're not choosing 2 other people that you really don't feel are qualified. So we're asking people to single vote. That's really important. In a county like Henderson County that has a 2-to-1 balance of Republicans to Democrats, we have to get the upper hand somehow. And by single voting my name, that's almost leveling the playing field with
I love that. It's almost like giving us our tips for our ACT and SAT tests.
Hey, it's Matt. Well, I do that all day.
Definitely. I did not know that about the single votes either. So you definitely have my single vote, Stacey. So, and I will take a pencil from you and give it to a child in need, definitely, and not make it about party lines. So I really appreciate your time today, and thank you for running. Thank you for putting your neck out and actually standing up for kids.
I appreciate it. And thank you so much for what you're doing as well. That's great.
My pleasure.
Have a great day.
You too.